Hello, everyone. Happy Independence Day. This session is about people who are going to write mains in the next 5 days. And today I'm going to focus more on the aspect of essay writing. I'm not here to teach essay writing today because we are very late for that. But I want to share some last minute tips, some perspective, so that the essay paper that you're going to write on the 21st August, upcoming Friday, you tend to score on a higher side. So let's get started. Okay, I want to start the session by first focusing on the types of essay topics that we are usually getting nowadays. Because unless until you understand what's the type, what is the expectation of UPSC, you won't be able to write the essay arguments properly, right? So there's no, I would say fixed categories like that. With my experience, I've come to understand that we can maybe divide the kind of essay topics into 3, 4 categories. Okay, the first type is actually where the topic is arranged in that way. And I'm going to be a little quick, okay, because I want to save time. And yes, because I don't want the session to be too long. So yeah, I'm just getting straight to the idea. So the type one is that where you have maybe two ideas which are going to project to another idea. So that kind of essay topics, for example, best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. So this is in a way trying to say, you could understand that the bitter experience is phrase A, okay, and best lessons, right? It could be phrase C. So A is leading to C. That means unless until you have the bitter experience, you won't be getting the best lessons of your life. So best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. Here, bitter experiences are going to give you the best lessons. So A or B, is leading to C. Here we just have one phrase. So I'm just calling it A, phrase A, which is leading to phrase C, which is best lessons. Phrase A being bitter experience, phrase C being best lessons. Why it is important? Because you need to understand that if there's a phrase, when I say phrase, that means a collection of words. So I'm not just taking experience or lesson as keywords. Of course, they are the keywords, but here the focus should be on the phrases, because when you focus on keywords plus key phrases, you tend to holistically understand the meaning. You tend to write a better essay. Okay, so best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. That's one type, you could say. Another type, which we got, and these all are the previous year questions, which are, you're seeing it on the PPT. And that's all previous year questions. Okay. So visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic, right? This topic actually is trying to say that your keyword intuition, which is A, capital A, logic, right, which is capital B for me, A plus B coming together, leading to C, which is visionary decision making. So it's trying to say that visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. Intuition A plus logic B equals to C, which is visionary decision making. So to make a good decision, to make, time lasting, like everlasting, good decision, you need to consider your intuition and logic. Okay, so you don't have to invest in this lot of, like, you have to actually write down phrases A and B and C. I'm just trying to tell you that when you get these kind of topics, how you're supposed to treat it, how you're supposed to actually write it. And when students are coming across these kind of topics, what mistakes they usually do. Then empires of future will be empires of mind, A leading to C, right? So empires of future would be looking like empires, like will be actually empires of mind. So the empires of mind are actually going to be the empires of future. That means there must be some empires of past, right? That's how you can generate the ideas. Forests precede civilizations and deserts precede them. Sorry, I think deserts follow them, not precede them. Forests precede civilizations and deserts follow them, right? So in that situation, you need to understand that there are 3 keywords: forest, civilizations, and deserts. And if you want to, fix it and give it like, those capital A, B, C. So forest is your A, civilization is B, and desert is C. So A is leading to B. That means before B, before civilization, you have forest. And after that, you have deserts, right, which is C part. Now, when you understand this, you tend to, also get an idea that when you're fixing the keywords A, B, C, when you're fixing the phrases A, B, C, You now have to deal with them separately also. And of course, you have to bring them all together. Why I'm emphasizing on this? Because many times students tend to miss out on one keyword. They tend to miss out on certain key phrases. Like sometimes they will, discuss about the logic in the visionary decision making topic. They will discuss logic, but they will miss out on intuition. It can happen that of course you might not be having lot many ideas to write about intuition, but whatever you can understand, because we need to also be careful of this or be cautious of this particular thing, that UPSC is accommodative of the various interpretations. Of course it needs to make sense and logic to the topic at hand, but yeah, they are accommodative. So intuition just doesn't mean that you have to talk about the literal meaning of intuition. You can also establish the metaphorical meaning of intuition. Okay, so in that perspective, be creative, write the idea, don't skip it. Because if you're skipping something, if you're skipping discussing the important keyword, you have skipped discussing an important phrase of the topic, of course it would lead to the impression that the student has not understood the topic. That means they would be cutting marks on the basis of partial interpretation or misinterpretation, and they'll be penalizing you for that, right? That's why we are getting the less scores. Anybody scoring less than 100, less than 90, you need to understand you have done the mistake of partial interpretation or misinterpretation. Otherwise, you cannot score such low numbers. Okay, so be careful that interpretation, partial interpretation, like doing the correct interpretation, and you need to avoid the partial interpretation. You need to holistically deal with the topic. Whatever ideas are coming into your mind, I'm not saying that you increase the weightage of intuition, but whatever weightage you're giving to logic, try and match the equal weightage for the intuition word also, if not more, then at least equal or less than that, but definitely mention about intuition. Okay, so whatever topic you're going to choose on the exam day, you need to ensure that you are doing its holistic interpretation, you are breaking down the topic. Every phrase, every keyword is getting some space in the essay write-up. Okay, now what's the mistreatment for these kind of topics being done by students? That they tend to barely discuss the keywords. They will discuss, okay, what is decision making, what is meant by visionary decision making, what is meant by intuition, what is meant by logic, what is meant by bitter experiences, right? A bare minimum decoding of the keywords would be done. And then what would be done would be that they'll be now trying to prove the topic by extracting the GS themed examples. When I say GS themed examples, I'm not saying that you can't use GS, examples. When I say GS examples, that means whatever you're learning from your GS syllabus, main syllabus, GS 1 to 4. So GS1, world history, GS2, polity, social justice, IR kind of, examples. So whatever you relate it, but it shouldn't mean that you're using just that only to prove the topic again and again. So using GST themed examples to again, prove the topic that yes, this was the bitter experience, and that's why the best lessons have been learned from then. Yes, the Nazi Germany, during that fascism was the, the bitter experience. So now we have learned the best lessons of democracy. Whatever, you don't have to prove it again and again. That's not how you write the essay. I have been emphasizing on this through many videos in the past also. Today, again, I'm trying to emphasize on this. Write by decoding the keywords, the key phrases, try and understand what are the underlying, essence, what is the underlying argument, and then use example to justify it. But you don't have to prove the topic again and again by, bringing in social, political, SDG framework, stakeholder approach. Those are there to help you generate examples. You need to generate arguments, which we'll be speaking, in the upcoming slide. But yes, for right now, you need to understand that for these kind of topics, decode phrases, decode keywords, discuss what is meant by that, bring all those ideas together. If you can figure it out that, it's an A plus B equals to C format, or A is leading to C format, or B is leading to C format, or A, B are maybe separate ideas, but then they are pointing towards C. In whatever way, you have to discuss all those A, B, C properly with adequate words and adequate length in the essay. Okay, so that's something that you need to understand. So that is the type 1. Let's move on to the type 2, where actually in the recent years, what I've found is that we are getting more of these kind of topics, which is having the assertive tone. They will give you one, particular sentence, one particular quote, which is very assertive in nature. By assertive, that means the way it is framed. Truth knows no color. So the topic is trying to, or it is expecting that you should be justifying the topic, and you can't go here and there. That means whatever ideas that you're going to write, truth knows no color, you have to justify this. You can't say that truth has many colors. You can't just go against the topic. Yes, there is a possibility of exploring counter argument, or sometimes I say not exactly 180-degree opposite argument, but a nuanced perspective. Maybe you want to say that because of the limited perception, it is very difficult for the humans to understand the real truth. So sometimes we believe in the relative truth, relative ethics, relative morality, because your 6 could be my 9, right? So truth knows no color. Yes, but you have to, that means ensure that this particular sentence, you need to prove it, right? You need to decode what is truth, what is happening exactly, the manifestations of truth for humans, and of course, why we are saying that truth knows no color. You need to also, it's not about the color. The color is a metaphor. It's trying to say that truth doesn't have a spectrum. It's not a WebGear. It's not, different colors. It's either black or white, or, white, you could say, and there's no gray spectrum attached to it. So truth knows no color, right? That is something that you have to sort of understand, that these kind of topics have an assertive tone, and you need to prove the topic. Okay. Similarly, I have given the example of other topics also. All ideas having large consequences are always simple. Again, assertive tone. There is no, A plus B coming together to give you C, or A is happening, then B is happening, then, it is leading to C. There's a difference between these kind of topics. There's a difference between the type 1 and type 2 topics, right? So all ideas having large consequences are always simple. The tone, can you see that it is very, very, like, clearly stating, are always simple. That means you have to decode, dissect, you have to write arguments and examples which tend to prove the topic. Okay. So here you can't, just write about that. No, not all ideas and all that. Yeah, counter argument, but the weightage would be less. You can't just, keep on writing the any idea which is coming into your mind. You need to stick to the core argument, which is the assertion that all ideas having large consequences are always simple. And you need to, sort of decode that, okay, why it is happening, what is happening exactly, how it is happening, what are the, you could say manifestations. Then you bring in examples and all that. Okay. Cost of being wrong is less than cost of doing nothing. So yes, again, an assertive tone. Then it's best to see life as a journey, not as a destination. Again, assertive tone. It's not, they are not suggesting that, yeah, you could see life as a journey and both as a destination. Then the topic and the treatment would change. For this only, if I change the wordings, that you can see life both as a journey, as a destination, and as a destination. That means you have got the possibility to explore both the ideas. But here they are saying it's best to see life as a journey, not as a destination. That means you have to generate ideas and arguments and examples which prove life as a journey. Counter argument could be that yes, sometimes, and you can't exactly go against the ideas that you have written up till now. You have to sort of, present a nuanced perspective carefully, that but sometimes it's better to have some milestones. It's better to have some destination in mind, because then without the destination, we can wander off. We maybe, we are not on the right path. And of course, sometimes milestones also act as short destinations, short points, because they tend to give you the tangible results. You're able to understand that, okay, where in life you're standing. So that could be the counter argument for this topic, but I would say the weightage would be very, very less, very minimum. You have to justify the topic as how we are going to see life as a journey, right? So these kind of topics, of course, are having assertive tone. Now the problem is that what students are doing in the exam, they tend to, what is a mistreatment by the aspirants, they tend to keep proving the topic via modified pestle. Now I know that in 2026 everybody knows that we are not supposed to purely use pestle or speckly or whatever, format that you tend to, or acronym that you have. So now students are trying to, be clever in this. They are trying to use the modified pestle. When I say modified pestle, that means they will not follow exactly political, economic, social, technology, but they would bring in AI. they would bring in, climate change reference. They would bring in something from, polity case laws. They would bring in, something which is happening in the constitution. So, or they would deliberately, bring in schemes, policy initiatives of the government, sabka saath, sabka vikas. You need to see, is the topic demanding that or not? So don't prove the topic by, via modified pestle. Or I have come to understand that many students, they tend to follow a fixed template, follow SGG framework. See, you need to understand these kind of essays, they are testing your understanding. They are testing your own independent thinking. If you're using a fixed template and trying to put that fixed template on that particular topic, it comes out to be too mechanical. It comes out to be, an essay which doesn't feel natural via reading. And please understand, sometimes we also get this perspective that अपना एग्जाम है बस लिख के खत्म करके आ जाओ, या बस कैसे भी करके एग्जाम को लिख देना है, कैसे भी करके ऐसे को लिख देना है, फिर इवैल्यूएटर अपना समझते रहे. The problem is you need to not just think from your own perspective as a student, but you have to also think from the perspective of the evaluator. You have to write an essay where, when he's reading it or she's reading it, she feels comfortable. There's ease of reading. Of course, I'll be discussing all these points later on also, but I'm just trying to say that don't write an essay which feels mechanical. Just because you have learned to follow a fixed template, it doesn't mean कि उसको वहीं पे वैसे ही fit in करके आना है. So see what the topic is, what's its expectation. अब truth knows no color में मुझे क्या पता, I don't think so AI and climate change or government policy and schemes needs to be included. I don't think so the topic is demanding that. It, of course, you need to see that how you're putting it, like in what flow of ideas and how you're, you have arranged your arguments. Then maybe something suitable, you feel that, yes, I can include, a perspective from my GS. That's fine. But deliberately following a fixed template is never going to fetch, high scores. I don't want you to, like, very dynamically change the format or, the writing style that you have right now with respect to essay. But yes, please be careful that whatever ideas that you are brainstorming on that day, whatever ideas you're going to write on the essay, you need to ensure that you are at least justifying the topic. And by justification doesn't mean that again and again prove the topic. Hence, truth knows no color. By social issues, we come to know, hence, truth knows no color. By political perspective, we come to know. In the international sphere, we come to know truth knows no color. That's not how the essay needs to be written. I hope you're understanding it, right? So, the stakeholder approach is again the individual, society, family, nation, international perspective. Yeah, bring these ideas. I'm not saying, because every topic is going to be related to society or human angle, right? All ideas having large consequences are always simple. Yeah, you will be bringing in some human socio-economic perspectives, some political systems, some examples which, talk about that, yes, the ideas which are being applied on humanity or the aspects, different aspects of humanity. Of course, those, the bigger ideas, like the ideas which have large consequences means that, they have everlasting impact. They are going to be simple in nature. So ultimately, yes, you have to bring in those, perspectives, but don't follow a fixed template where you yourself feel that when you read an essay, it's feeling very mechanical. It's just that you have, fixed a template and you're just deliberately forcing it in. So try and follow that what is the expectation of the topic, try and generate different ideas, break down the topic, decode ideas, and then you use SDG framework, stakeholder approach, modified pestle to justify the argument that you're making. Not write the entire essay via this approach, okay? At the individual sphere, at the society sphere, and in the from the family perspective, from the international sphere. These are just repetitive. You're just proving the topic through different examples and different dimensions, okay? So and of course, apart from doing all this, then you forcefully fit in the counter argument. You need to also understand that not all topics or not every topic actually gives you the possibility of counter argument. If I'm talking about a topic like honesty is the best policy, is there a counter argument? Are you be writing that, no, let's also practice dishonesty? No, that means there needs to be a nuanced perspective. Of course, you will justify that honesty is the best policy, but what would you do? You would tend to bring a nuanced perspective that we need to be very careful where we are practicing honesty, or pragmatic honesty is something that we need to be aware of. Just like whistleblowers, many whistleblowers, have a hard time just surviving because people are ready to kill them. We have had so many instances, right? So that means you need to practice honesty, you need to be truthful, but you need to also see the sthan kal desh patra kind of angle. You need to see that where you are and how you're practicing honesty. Otherwise, there's a phrase na, straight trees are cut first. So, if you're being honest, the world around you is not actually going to applaud you, they will kill you. Okay. So it means that the nuanced perspective could be that the person who's practicing truth and honesty needs to see in which situation is the situation allowing him to practice that. And he needs to be very practical, very realistic about it, very pragmatic about it, right? So that's something that's called a nuanced perspective. I did not justify dishonesty. I did not forcefully, fit in the counter argument, but I gave a nuanced perspective towards this topic, right? So that's the second type of topic, assertive. And this is the mistreatment, what students tend to do. I have told you that, okay, you need to, write the arguments. You need to generate examples from this approach, but it doesn't mean that these are your arguments. No, these are examples. Okay. Arguments mean when you try to understand, when you try to decode the topic, what is meant by truth, why we are saying it does not have a color. It means that it doesn't have a spectrum. It's either black or white, or it's having one color, right? Or it's having just one fixed nature. So it's human who tends to give it color. Like these kind of discussions when you're doing, that's called as argument, right? So be careful of these kind of topics when you're choosing, and don't treat them in this way. Okay. Now, the third way is, of course, or the third kind of topic is, I would say, abstract topics. Now, we need to understand that the category doesn't matter, okay? Because UPSC is just giving you a topic, you have to write it. If it belongs to type 1, type 2, type 3, abstract, philosophical, semi-philosophical, doesn't really matter. For a person talking about the essay writing, then the categorization helps. Okay. So, but yeah, abstract topics is where you need to be extra cautious, because they are giving you a topic, but the words have a metaphorical meaning attached to it. And if you're not able to understand the holistic metaphorical perspective behind it, if you are not able to understand that what is the hidden meaning and interpretation, ideally you should not choose a topic like this. What are those abstract topics? Last year we had muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. Okay, you do know that you're not going to write 1,000 to 1,200 words on muddy water. Muddy water is trying to convey something else, and the entire topic is trying to say that sometimes we need to have policy of non-interference. Sometimes we need to not take an action or not take an impulsive action, because we need to watch out. Wait and watch kehte hain na? So we need to watch out how the things are panning out. So muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. That means if you want to clear a muddy water, you put it in a glass, you make it stable. The dust, the dirt will automatically settle down. So when you don't disturb the muddy water, it will ultimately settle down, the dirt would settle down, and then you can have a clear water, right? So muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. Yes, that means you have to be able to extract many ideas. First, understand the underlying theme. The underlying theme is policy of non-interference, or policy of patience, not taking impulsive action. If you're able to figure out these kind of words, these kind of meanings, then only choose the topic. Otherwise, I would suggest don't go choosing after these topics, because you will again repeat the same mistake. You will keep on repeating the same word. Hence, muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. Hence, muddy water needs to be, not disturbed. Or, this was whatever happened in the international sphere. That means like, that's a muddy water, giving impression of muddy water. That's how you keep on justifying your ideas, right? So not all who wander are lost. That is also one PYQ that we got, and that's also abstract topic. Yeah, here of course you would be talking about the people who are wandering, but what kind of wanderers, what's the benefit of wandering, and why we say that not all who wander are lost, because society tends to, of course, appreciate people who tend to follow a conventional path. So anybody who's wandering, or anybody who has going against a set path, is actually like not appreciated by society. But that's what the topic is, that not all who wander are lost, because we tend to understand that who is going to be wandering, or whoever is going to, like, not follow a conventional path, they will be termed as vagabond, they'll be termed as, useless, right? So people who follow conventionality from society perspective are termed to be useful. But this topic expects you to write that not all who wander are lost. That means you have to talk about that there's a good perspective, there's a usefulness to the wanderings. Okay. And of course, you can, bring in various examples for that particular, topic. You cannot step twice in the same river. Abstract topic. You're not going to write 1,000 words about the river. There's a hidden underlying meaning attached to it. There's a hidden underlying meaning of change. You cannot step twice in the same river, because the river also has changed and you as a person also has changed. That's the exact quote by Heraclitus. Please cross check if you want to use it in the upcoming essays. You can use it. It's a very nice, quote. But yeah, the underlying hidden theme is about change. So it's not about river, it's not about stepping twice, it's actually about change, because the person has changed, the river has changed, because the river is continuously flowing, right? A ship in the harbor is safe, but that is not what it is for. Yes, that means you are safe in your comfort zone. The ship is safe in the harbor, the ship is safe in the port, but the ship is not meant to always stay at the port. It's meant to explore open oceans. It's meant to explore, and get achievements, and, progress, have growth. And when it's trying to get the growth, it has to come out in the open oceans, which is, of course, unknown, uncharted waters, right? Something which you don't know, which is outside your comfort zone. So these kind of, ideas needs to be in your mind, then only you can do justice to the type 3 abstract topics. Now, what is the kind of mistreatment done by students in these kind of topics? You tend to repeat ship, ship, ship in every paragraph. You tend to repeat cannot step twice, river in every paragraph. You tend to keep on, okay, this is how not all who wander are lost. That's not how these topic needs to be written. You need to establish that muddy water, river, ship are metaphors, and you can extrapolate it to the understanding of individuals, or other people, right? Like other things, society, national examples and all, nation based examples for that matter, India based examples for that matter. So yeah, that's how you're supposed to do. So you're not supposed to repeat the one metaphor in every page and every paragraph through examples. And don't prove the topic again and again via, again, GS based examples. Break it down, try and understand it from the, like, isko bolte na, dialectical mechanism. So try and debate around it, try, and decode the topic. Okay, so these are the mistakes usually students tend to do when they choose these kind of topics. What can be done? Of course, I'll be speaking in the upcoming slides. Okay. Now, there's also one type of topic which we call as value-based topics, which I have observed many coaching institutes, in their essay test series, they tend to focus more on the value-based topics. By value, I mean to say, those character traits and all: honesty, integrity, character, compassion, happiness and wisdom and perception. So all these, like, happiness, adversity, and even UPSC has given these topics, but I would say it's very few in number. UPSC is not giving you topics, like, which are like on based out of values. Like, it's not very frequent for that matter. Of course, every year or so you will find one, but not many. So, like, we had the topic on happiness. There is no part to happiness. Happiness is the path, right? So happiness becomes your one value based, because happiness in connection to the human, angle you will be exploring. Then you had the topic that not every character is getting tested through adversity. When you want to test the character, give them power, right? Everybody can endure adversity, something like that. That was a PYQ, right? So adversity, character, power. Character, of course, they're trying to talk about from the human connection only. So yeah, that is a value based topic. Then of course there was a topic now that even if you got a choice, that doesn't mean that any of them has to be correct, right? So that kind of topics, because whenever we will be discussing those topics, it has to be in connection to the human angle. Okay, now the problem is that these topics are easy to frame. That's why the coaching institutes bombard you with these topics, value based topics on integrity, honesty, character, responsibility, leadership and all that. But UPSC in the recent years, if you would see the recent papers, very few of this type and this category are present. So but what's the caution thing for the student? I would say choose these kind of topics. If in case in the upcoming Friday you get this kind of topic, I would say choose only when you have adequate ideas on the keywords. If you don't have perspective about happiness that various thinkers, various philosophies, quotes about thinkers, like, quotes about happiness topic and all. If you're not aware of that, you won't be able to do like good justice with the topic. You're not able to write a nice essay. Similarly, for character, for choices, for adversity, for leadership and all, if you don't have that kind of content, it will be sort of tricky for you, because again you'll be mistreating the topic via just putting in examples and proving that, okay, yeah, this is how happiness, and this is what is happiness is, and this is how you test the character and all that. This is what, you give these kind of powers and all that, right? So but also in such kind of topics, GS4 knowledge can help, because we tend to read these ethical traits, right? When you're preparing the GS4 syllabus, ethics syllabus, you are actually preparing these kind of traits, right? Objectivity, neutrality, compassion, joy, happiness, fortitude, temperance, right? These kind of ideas you do prepare to write a good answer in ethics. So yeah, for these kind of topics, if you have prepared well from the GS4 perspective, you can use that knowledge. Okay, but these kind of topics are few in number, and you need to be careful, because it's not just only the GS4 knowledge which can help you. You can generate the examples from GS4 knowledge, but you need to have some theories on hand. Okay, you need to have some good quotes, you need to have proper examples, if possible even poems for that matter. So why I'm emphasizing on this, because I've been watching many open tests and all that being conducted by various coachings, and I found out that they were giving very shallow kind of topics. They were giving those kind of topics where these value based topics were being asked, which is it feels easy to write, but actually you won't be doing a good justice with them. And in the exam, in the actual UPSC exam, you're not getting many kind of like many choices based on these value based topics. So just be careful. Okay, and if in case you get it, it's a good luck. If you feel a familiar topic has come, you have the ideas, why not? Of course, go for it, no problem in that. Okay, now I want to talk about that. Okay, when you have a topic, then what should be done? Because I've talked about, okay, what mistakes you are doing, but if I don't give you what needs to be done, what is the correct way, of course the discussion would be like half-hearted and empty. So for example, actually in one of my test series, I gave a topic, and yeah, this is value-based topic, but I think it was just out of so many FLTs, this was one topic, one, you could say, value-based topic that I had given. But I just wanted to emphasize, because it's easy to discuss these kind of topics also. So to keep the time limitation in mind, the topic is true character is revealed when conscience triumphs convenience. Okay, so you do understand that here the characters, of course, being talked about the good character, and conscience, triumphing over. That means when your conscience is guiding your actions, you are not opting for convenience. And here convenience means, of course, the easy way out. Because whenever you're faced with a dilemma, whenever you're faced with an ethical dilemma or any kind of dilemma for that matter, there's always a choice between an easy path and a difficult path. Both the paths won't be difficult. There would be an easy one and there would be a difficult one. And you have to always, you will realize that always the difficult path is going through the right value system. So all ethical paths, all morality based paths, all actions which have the sense of ethics and morality, they are going to be the difficult ones. So are you going to choose a difficult path, or are you going to opt for convenience and an easy path? So actually true character, the goodness of the character is revealed when your conscience, when the good conscience is guiding you towards the ethical path, and it is winning over the aspect of convenience and comfort, right? This was the character, this was the topic, and this is the meaning attached with that, right? So what would you do when I say that you don't need to prove the topic again and again via examples, and don't include GS examples and all that? You have to decode the topic, you have to frame different kind of arguments. For this particular topic, I want you to also think about that. Okay, what's conscience, how it is conditioned, and how it guides a person, how it guides a human being, why convenience attracts dilemma dwellers and action takers. So why always you tend to find a convenient path, which is of course not going to be ethical, but yes, it's going to be attractive. Whenever you're in a dilemma, you'll always be attracted towards an easy path. So convenience is going to attract those dilemma facing people, and even the people who want to take an action, but there are two paths in front of them, and again the easy and the difficult part, right? The third argument could be how and why the path of convenience diverts one from conscience, because you want to take the easy way out, you want to have immediate gratification, You don't want to take that extra, effort. You don't want to go against conformity. You don't want to go against society. So that's why the path of convenience is always going to ask you to follow herd mentality. It will always ask you to follow conformity. It was always, tell you that there's no need of doing something extra, because what's the use, right? So how and why the path of convenience is going to divert one from conscience? One who follows conscience, of course, is going to face a tough time. Like I told you, the ethical path, the path based out of morality, it's never going to be easy. So one who follows conscience is always going to face a tough time, right? But yes, following that tough path is where your true goodness of character is actually witnessed or revealed. Okay, so this is how you need to, generate these questions. You could see what, why, how, when, where, these kind of ideas when you're using, you will be able to actually decode the topic. You will be able to write arguments. You'll be able to give analysis to the topic. A philosophical analysis to the essay topic is very much needed. And when you're answering these questions, you can, and you don't have to write it in the question format. You can, paraphrase it into a normal sentence. But when you answer these questions, the justification, the proof comes from the GS based example. So it comes from the examples basically. So these are the questions. I've not given you the examples, but these are the questions. When you're discussing these questions, when you're analyzing them as an answer, you will be proving you will be proving your point with the help of the examples. Now it is coming from movies references, it is coming from books references, it is coming from fiction, it is coming from world history, it is coming from polity. It's your call. You need to see that, okay, what is the suitable part and what is the suitable example for that particular question, for that particular argument, right? But this is what you need to do. Okay, don't keep on proving the goodness of character where Jyotiba Phule, Savitribai Phule followed their conscience, and sometimes people tend to not able to differentiate what is example, what is argument. They tend to make their example as the argument, right? So try and differentiate it. Try to go for the philosophical analysis. You have to prove your argument. You have to prove the analysis via those examples. Okay, so be careful in this perspective. Then of course, there's again, a topic which I saw in an open test. So true education begins outside classroom. Again, I'm picking up simple topics. I don't want to complicate. I don't want to, develop a fear in the mind of the student who's going to write mains in the next 5 or 6 days. I want you to understand the perspective, and I'm deliberately have picked up these kind of, simple topics, so that you're able to understand. And of course, when you're practicing in the upcoming days, you can, push yourself towards picking up some tricky topics to practice. So true education begins outside classroom. Very simple statement, very simple, essay topic. You do understand what it's trying to say. But how would you actually write the, how would you generate the arguments? How would you write the essay topic? So you do understand that, yes, there are two important, keywords over here, classroom. And of course, the phrase here is education begins. So true education begins outside classroom, right? So in the chronology, of course, you have to talk about the classroom, because there's a classroom, but then you say that the true education begins outside the classroom. So in chronological, in logical, argumentation, the classroom, the purpose of it, why we need a classroom, what is the education curriculum, how it helps a student or a child get the learning, get the knowledge. But the real education, the real wisdom, the application of knowledge always going to happen outside classroom. So now this part would come in the chronologically sequence a little later. So this is how you need to understand the topic. What are the debates? Because when you generate debates, when you generate these kind of ideas, you will have arguments. You will be able to philosophically analyze the topic, right? So generate debates also, that, okay, it means what? Theory versus practical. That, yeah, in the classroom you're learning the theory, but once the real education starts, when you actually are putting the theory into practice outside the classroom, right? Similarly, in the classroom, you're gathering the knowledge, you're gathering the information, you're studying various subjects. There's an academic, you could say, focus. But then when you're coming outside the classroom, there's an experiential wisdom. That kind of wisdom which is gained only via experiences, and that cannot be learned only through learning theory, right? So the knowledge, information versus experiential wisdom. The application of knowledge is the wisdom, right? So experiential wisdom is something which is going to always happen outside classroom. Perception versus reality. You have certain kind of biases, you have certain kind of prejudices, you have certain perception towards certain aspects. what is a government, what is, political system, how a nation should, feel like, look like, how a society should function. But when you're actually coming out in the real open world, that's where you realize that, yeah, the reality is very different from what we have been learning in the schools and the colleges, right? So the perception versus reality, when you have these kind of debates coming into your mind, you will have better ideas. Otherwise, you'll be restricted towards using GS examples as your philosophical analysis, which is not going to fetch you high marks. Okay, I hope I'm clear with this. So these are the debates when you generate, you tend to force your mind to go for better arguments, better ideas, and of course use the examples, whatever examples collection that you have, you need to bring those ideas into the essay. Okay, now I also want to focus on that what should the plan look like. Today is 15th August, and I want the students, especially those who have not been able to focus on essays up till now because they were busy completing the GS syllabus, they were busy completing the optional syllabus. I would recommend at least, don't fix the only 20th of August as the last day to, like a day before essay to read about essays, to prepare for essays. I would recommend that a little bit of planning, a little bit of, deliberate scheduling of essay preparation can be started from tomorrow onwards. If not tomorrow, at least Monday onwards. The only thing that I want you to understand is that just don't want you to focus only on Thursday, 20th August for your essay preparation. What all you can do, of course, I've chalked out a plan, but whatever is possible for you practically, please, follow that. It's just that the only thing that I'm suggesting, sort of as a compulsion, is that don't just, depend on 20th August to do your essay. Because, what you will do on 20th August, you will just pick up the essay materials, your content and all that, and you'll just go through, a random reading. You will just go through various, quotes, and you'll just go through various examples. And the problem is that reading something doesn't exactly translate into application of those examples or the quotes, right? So there has to be some work which needs to be done before that. Of course, you will be preparing for essay paper on 20th August, but what needs to be done on 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, right? So that's what I've tried to give you a plan. Whatever best, time you can take out, I'll suggest that. Actually, what I'm suggesting is that from 16th till, I would say, 18th, 19th, you can devote, I would say 2 to 3 hours in the night. Most of the students, because I've been talking to many students, most of them are, planning to wrap up the optional revision by 15th or 16th, like Monday onwards, they will switch to GS. Somebody has already switched to GS revision from Saturday onwards, like today onwards, whatever is, is your plan. So whenever you like, you have to like sort to have a deadline that, okay, after this day, you're not doing your optional, because optional, of course, you can do it the next Monday. Here, I would say that means next Monday when, your 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. The 24th onwards, you're doing your optional, right? Again, at this point of time, I would say maybe within a day or two, you should stop your optional revision and you should shift towards your GS revision and essay. What you can do is that every day of the upcoming, week, towards the night, take out 2-3 hours, okay? And you can follow the schedule. So I would suggest that the first most important thing is to, if you have written your, the essays, if you have practiced essays via any test series, via your own self-practice, even previously written essays, please read down your essays. Why? Because you need to understand what kind of mistakes you have been doing in those essays. If your essays have been evaluated, you have had a mentorship session, please keep the feedback into mind. Note it down somewhere that, okay, you tend to repeat you tend to make these mistakes. You have not maybe properly done the paragraphing, or your sentences are too long, or the idea is not coming very out clearly. You're making your essay too much filled with jargons and flowery language, whatever is the feedback, or you fail to sort of interpret the topic properly. So revise your own essay that you have written in any attempts, in the recent attempt, like in the recent preparation, whatever, right? And note down that what kind of mistakes that you have been doing, what is the feedback all about, okay? What you can do is that you can also start revising content, because if you have been part of any test series for that matter, in those test series, the solutions are being given out, the framework, the topic solutions, the topic frameworks are being given out. There are video discussions, like there is some certain extra content and material being supplied to you. So you can't just, cover every test material on the last day, 20th. You need to bring in the content revision on everyday basis, because once you revise it a lot many times, you turn to understand its application, and then on the day of the exam you'll be able to explain. Every year every year I tend to get a feedback. I tend to talk with many students, and they tell me that they had a lot of ideas, they had a lot of content. They were their essay material was very bulky, but in the exam they failed to use any proper code, they failed to use differentiated examples, they couldn't write an essay where themselves they could feel satisfied with their write-up. So why this is happening? It's not lack of content and material, it's lack of application. It's lack of that you have not sit with you have not actually properly sat with the examples to apply them, to learn how to apply them. So yes, revise the content, but also keep your mind working, that in which topics I can use these, where are these ideas. Even if you're reading a topic solution, a particular essay solution framework, so also think that, okay, if I'm reading something about any example, any personality, can I use it in in different essays? Can I use it in different themes? Right? So force your mind to think, then only you'll be able to apply it in the exam. Just going through or glancing through examples is not going to stay in your mind, and even if it stays, you won't be able to use it in a best possible manner. So revise content, but yeah, do also go for the application. Think forcefully that what kind of ideas and which topics, which themes I can use, right? I would say, I also want to accommodate, I also want to be inclusive in this sense, that I understand that maybe some of you have still not prepared essay, you did not write a single essay, you don't know, like you're feeling very much afraid that because there's zero preparation with respect to essay. What I would suggest is that start now. You're still not late, I would say. We can still like salvage the attempt, we can still salvage the essay paper. So what I would suggest is that in extremely unprepared cases, start reading some toppers copies. Start reading essay copies of the toppers to understand how they are treating the essay, how they are writing the introduction, in the body what kind of arguments, how they are placing the arguments, how they have placed the examples, what kind of paragraphing is being followed, what is the conclusion, what is the content of conclusion, were they able to interpret the topic properly, were they able to unfold it, just like a flower has petals, a rose has petals. So are you able to pluck all those petals and unfold the essay topic in that way? So read those toppers copies. I have posted some toppers copies with my own you could say assessment and feedback. Go through that. If you don't have you're totally not aware, okay, which toppers copy, what to read and all, so at least have a look at that, because that's where I've given my comments also. It's going to be helpful to understand that, okay, this is how the essay needs to be written. Okay, on Monday what you can do is, again, because of course on Sunday itself you won't be able to revise all your essays, I'm expecting that many of you have written 4 to 5 FLTs or 3 to 4 FLTs, some open test and all that. In total, whatever you have written, whatever topics, even your brainstorming topics that you have done, revise your own essay. Okay, divide it into 2-3 days. Not everything needs to be wrapped up on 16th August. You can divide it into 2-3 days. So on 17th August, which is Monday evening, also Monday night, Monday evening, whatever time you can take out, you don't have to do this work for the entire day. Actually, you have to take out hours in the evening, right? Late evening, night, whatever is possible for you. So because in the day you're of course devoting the time for your GS and maybe optional revision, whatever is your plan, follow your own schedule. This is just something that I'm trying to suggest, that 2 hours, 3 hours in the night you're taking out time. So revise your own essays, plus of course the essay content, because even if you've got the solutions for all the FLTs, you won't be able to complete it in one single day. You need to of course divide it and assign certain days for all the completion of the essay frameworks and essay solutions, right? So revise your own essay, revise the content, the solutions and all that. And then I would recommend that because in the FLTs, when you have a section A, section B, so there are of course 4 plus 4, 8 topics are being given out to you. You are writing only 2 topics. What about those remaining 6 topics? So force your mind, any test series that you're following, because this is going to be very open. I'll upload it for everyone, every student can see this. So any test series, anything that you have followed, you need to brainstorm the other topics which you have not chosen. So force your mind to think, because if you have not chosen that topic, it means either you were not able to understand what's the meaning of it, or you didn't have proper ideas, or you didn't want to attempt it because you had a fear that, okay, I might not be able to do justice to it. So whatever be the fear, tackle that fear, because in the exam you will be faced with that kind of topics only. So do the brainstorming of the remaining not chosen ones of the FLTs, and it will help you cover all important themes, because that's how the paper is also planned. Any team which is preparing the essay question paper, sort of an FLT, they will of course be trying to give you variety of themes. So if you have written on education, there will be a society. If you have written on, maybe an abstract topic, there would be some, value-based topics or assertive tone topics. So try to, cover a lot, many variety of topics, because that's how you'll be able to feel comfortable on the day of the exam. Okay. Again, in the unprepared cases, in the extreme cases where you could not have done, anything with respect to the essay preparation, read toppers copies. So actually on 16th and 17th, if possible, read the toppers copies, because if you could see in the end, I've written, don't read any toppers copies on 19th and 20th August. Why? Because for the past 2, 3 years, what I've seen and observed, that sometimes, those topics are getting repeated. Like maybe you read a topper's copies, any essay copy for that matter, and that topic got is being asked in the UPSC exam. So then you're getting influenced by what topper has written. I'll make it more specific. For that example, 2 years back we had that there's no path to happiness, happiness is the path. And many of you had read the topper Gautam Vivekanandan's copy on that particular essay topic, and you sort of failed to use your own mind. You did not generate fresh examples, fresh ideas, fresh perspective. You just sort of remember that, okay, yes, Gautam had written this, so you sort of wrote the same ideas, which actually backfired, because you can't exactly mug up the essay what any other person has written, be it topper only, right? So many people failed to include their own specific, they failed to give that unique specific touch to the, individual touch to the essay topic, and that is why they failed to actually do justice to the topic. So that is why I'm trying to say, do not get influenced by those toppers copies. Please do not read any topper copy on 19th and 20th August. Okay, have the possibility, have the platform to generate your own ideas, because if you're reading something which has been written by some other person, you tend to get influenced. Okay, so avoid reading any toppers copies on 19th and 20th. 19th and 20th is for your own revision, is for brainstorming. Force your mind to think, if I am supposed to write an essay, what will I write, right? So don't go with toppers copies and all that. Toppers copies go only with, I would say 16th and 17th. These are the 2 days. If you want to read some toppers copies, you want to generate some ideas, you want to see how they are writing the essay, right? That is where, you can go for it. On 18th, which is Tuesday, again, you have to revise content. Okay. And please do brainstorming, because again, you can't do all the topic brainstorming on one single day. That's why I've divided it, right? So you're doing the brainstorming on those topics which you have not chosen FLTs on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay. And if, of course, on Thursday also, I have written down, I'll tell you the purpose behind it. But yeah, that's what, the idea is, that on Tuesday itself, you're supposed to also do the brainstorming. If you're not able to brainstorm, if you're not able to, generate your own ideas, have a look at the solution framework, understand what's the interpretation, what's the various ideas, what is the counter argument and all, or what are the various kind of arguments, being placed for that particular topic, right? On August Wednesday, like 19th August Wednesday, I would say, lighten up the schedule. You need to avoid brain fog. You need to, sort of start relaxing, because if you're, putting yourself under too much of stress and anxiety, you might start forgetting stuff. So it's very much essential that Wednesday onwards, you start to lighten up schedule. Some of you might be traveling because, your center is maybe in some other city. You might be traveling back to your hometown. Whatever is the, your plan and schedule, accordingly try to, like, manage it. But don't, in the last 2 days, that is 19th and 20th, you don't, you're not supposed to, like, make it too difficult or have a very hectic schedule. You need to start relaxing. Yeah, revise, keep in touch with whatever you want to, like, revise at the last moment, your short notes, your concise notes, your data sheets and all that, whatever you want to, like, from the GS perspective also. But don't make it hectic towards the last few days. There's no, point in that, and you're just going to make yourself panic and, develop anxiety for that matter for the exam. And I want you to feel peaceful. I want you to be at peace, and I want you to be calm, to be actually able to recall stuff, right, in the exam. So lighten up the schedule. But yeah, start the second revision of the quote, stories, anecdotes, whatever essay material content you were already revising from 16th. 19th is the day where you start revising. Go for the second revision, because then you'll be able to recollect and understand and start applying that. Okay, yeah, this particular quote I can use in this theme. Or this was the, a previous essay, topic, previous year essay topic. Or this quote could have been written for that. Or this idea could have been written for that. When you force your mind in this way, you tend to, of course, develop application of whatever content you have learned. On 20th, which is a day before the exam, that is Thursday, you need to, of course, continue revision of the quotes, because sometimes recollection of quotes and poems is very difficult. So keep on doing that at the last moment. So continue the second revision of quotes, stories, and anecdotes. In the evening, I would say, please don't write a full-fledged essay, but please brainstorm two topics properly. Like, just assume that, okay, this is an FLT. So yeah, two topics you have chosen, and you need to brainstorm 15-20 minutes, whatever is the idea, whatever is your time, division. Ideally, of course, we are getting 3 hours. You have to write two topics. So 1.5 hours, that means 1.5 hours for each topic. An ideal division of time would be 20 minutes for brainstorming and 70, minutes for writing the essay. 5 minutes here and there, 2-3 minutes here and there, tolerance level is of course there, but please do not brainstorm for beyond 30 minutes, 35-40 minutes, because you need that one minimum hour, at least 60 minutes to 65 minutes to sometimes even 70 minutes, to write, translate the brainstorm portion onto the actual final essay. You need that kind of time. So don't compromise on the time. Be very careful with your time management, be very careful with your time division. And yeah, 20 minutes, 25 minutes is, I think, the maximum time that you can devote for the brainstorming. The second essay also needs to be divided in the same way. Some people, tend to misguide the students and say that, do your best in the first essay and, write a compromised essay in the section B essay. I don't believe in that. Both the essays are carrying equal amount of, marks. So please do your best in both the essays, right? Because there's always a sense of impression. You don't want to down your impression. And what if your section B essay, you are more comfortable in writing it, like you have better ideas, you have good content, so yeah, write it in that way, like fill the pages so that the evaluator is impressed. Okay, so brainstorm two topics on the evening of 20th August. Why? Because you need to start forcing your mind to work on the ideas. Okay, 21st morning also, I'm giving you a task. You might feel that, okay, why? But yeah, because I want you to just stay in the practice and all. So there are two categories of students. So on 21st morning, what you can do is that, because you're at the center, you want to keep yourself engaged. Okay, I don't believe in last minute revisions for that matter for this kind of exam, but yeah, just to keep yourself busy, because I don't want you looking here and there and seeing other people, and then they are revising something and they are reading main 365, and you're on like, oh, essay ke paper mein main 365 current affairs kyun pad raha hai? Those kind of things. So keep yourself busy, revise your own content. You don't have to watch and see what others are doing. Please focus on your thing. So there are two categories of students. One category is that who tends to forget content, who tends to forget the quotes. अरे मुझे quote ही याद नहीं आ रहा, कल तो रटा था अभी याद नहीं आ रहा. So that category of students, I would recommend that please carry your notes, revise your quotes, and revise your anecdotes, and revise personalities and all that, like the essay material that you have. Okay, revise that, so that within half an hour, within 15 minutes, when you're actually getting the paper, you're able to, recollect, and you're able to write. The second category of students are who feel that, because they have realized through the attempt of various FLTs that your mind starts, working like the first essay, it's very slow. So you are taking up time to getting warmed up. Okay, so if you're falling in that kind of category, when you feel that your thinking is very slow in the initial few minutes of the paper, and by the time the second essay comes, your mind is of course bubbling with ideas, but during the first essay you took a lot of time to generate different ideas and different arguments. Those kind of people, I would suggest, pick up a topic and start brainstorming at the center itself. Rather than you revising quotes and content and all that, I would suggest you to go for pick up a topic and do the brainstorming. Keep your, both the thinking horses. So run, force your horses to run. Let your thinking, like wear your thinking cap and start brainstorming that, okay, this is the idea. This is what I can write. This is what, is there. What many, examples and quotes I can recall. What are the thinkers, all these kind of things. Force your mind to recollect, have a schema in your mind, have a, a pattern that, okay, I can bring in mythology, I can bring in fictional books, I can bring in fictional characters. Okay, there was a good critically acclaimed movie reference also. Oh, there was a these set of quotes that I have, these are the set of poems that I have, these are the thinkers I can largely use. So when you force your mind in that way, you will have a comfortable time dealing with the actual first essay of your essay paper, okay, like the actual exam. So on the 21st morning also, I'm also assigning a task. Please don't waste your time gossiping and having a look at here and there, वो क्या पहन के आया, ये क्या पहन के आई है, ऐसा मत करना, ठीक है? Okay, so be focused on your own attempt. Don't gossip around, don't waste time, don't put your hands in your pockets and relax. Okay, let me observe. Okay, yeah, so focus on your own attempt, focus on becoming an IS officer, right? That was the plan. If you want to follow, this is what the plan is. You don't want to follow, you have your own schedule, you're welcome to follow your own plan, no problem in that. But yeah, people who feel left out, people who feel that okay, what needs to be done, and people who feel that yeah, doing the efforts on 20th August for essay is going to be enough, I'm sorry to say you need to start early. Okay, yeah, okay. Also when you're revising, when I'm these days, the 17th, 18th, 19th, these days when you're revising, I also want you to understand that essay is not just about revising the content. It's not just about revising various kind of quotes. It's also about forcing your mind to think multidimensionally. So please include the component of brainstorming. Essay preparation is not just mugging up quotes, mugging up different personalities, mugging up different poems and all that, or different phrases and all that. It's also about forcing your mind to pick up a topic and brainstorm. What arguments can I write? What is the debate over here? What is the dialectical mechanism of analysis I can do over here? Can I think of something which is a nuanced perspective? Can I think of something which is a counter argument? Can I what needs to be written in the conclusion? Is it needs to be is it an issue based topic? So can I suggest some solutions? Can I bring some takeaways? Can I caution through this essay topic? Can I caution the future humanity? Can I caution the present humanity? Something like that, right? So when you are actually preparing for essay, it's not just the content revision, it's also forcing your mind to think multidimensionally on selected topics. And that's why the brainstorming is very much important. Okay, now let's come to the exam day, the actual exam day. Okay, imagine that you are you've got the question come answer booklet. The first thing that I want to emphasize is please count the number of pages that you've got. Last year, there have been reports, there have been students telling me that there were more number of pages. Now, that's not a problem. Usually, if you check the uploaded model question come answer booklet on UPSC's website for the essay paper, you would find that they have given you around 11.5 pages space per topic. Okay, 11.5 means because the page which is having that that four section A topics is also mentioned over there. So that is where the idea, like the half space is there on the page. And of course you have one, two, like back, like front and back, you're counting in that way. So you've got 11.5 pages. If you're not able to understand, please visit the website, download the question come answer booklet. I think I even uploaded it on my Telegram channel. So have a look at it, you will understand what I'm trying to say. Last year, what happened in the year of 2025, that students came to realize that there were more pages, being given per essay. And they got confused that are we supposed to fill up all the pages? No. They will do the same thing in ethics. They can do the same with the case studies. They can do the same thing in optional also. More pages doesn't mean that you have to fill up all of them, because UPSC believes in the word range. For every question, for every type of question, they have given you the word range. Case studies का भी word range है. Section A ethics questions का भी word range है. 10 marker, 15 marker has a word range. 150 words, 250 words. Essay has a word range, 1000 to 1200 words. They're giving you a tolerance bandwidth of 200 words. So actually, it's not about filling up all the pages that they have given you. It's about knowing that if as a person, as an individual, you're going to write 1050 words or you're going to write 1100 words, how many pages actually you are going to consume. And you can't exactly count because you won't be having the time to count your words. What you can do is have a rough idea that if I'm writing a paragraph in my essay, how many words a paragraph usually covers. For some people it's 40, some people it's 50, some people sometimes it's 60, 70, 80, whatever you have, right? Some people, they tend to count that, okay, on a single page, if I'm writing 2.5 paragraphs, so maybe I'm touching 80, 100 words. Some students, because their font size is small, their handwriting is small, they tend to touch even 120 words per page. So you should be having that kind of idea, right? So count the blank pages so that you know that, okay, how many pages you are supposed to, fill. What if they do reverse? What if they give you less number of pages, 10 pages only? So you can't like, be very relaxed about it. You can't have, bigger font size going on and a lot of space that you're leaving in between the paragraphs. So be careful. The moment you get the question come answer booklet, whenever the bell, rings, you open the seal and, start counting the pages, okay, so that you know that, okay, how many you're supposed to write as per your own comfort level. Okay, then I would recommend that, and this is just a very small tip, a very small hack, I would say. I used to carry a pencil and eraser on the essay exam day also. Why? Because, I used to count the pages and I had a sort of an idea in my mind that I used to write around 10 and a half pages of essay, okay, write up. So I used to mark that, okay, on the page, a little bit of, a slight pencil marking that, okay, by this page, my introduction should get over so that I could switch over to the body content. By this page, my body content should be over so that I switch over to conclusion. Because many times in the flow, while writing the essay, we tend to give lot of weightage to introduction. पर चला 3 पेजेस तक इंट्रोडक्शन लिख दिया, बॉडी कंटेंट पूरा सारे पेजेस एग्जॉस्ट कर दिया बॉडी कंटेंट लिखने में, कंक्लूजन के लिए स्पेस ही नहीं बचा, या कंक्लूजन के लिए बहुत बेयर मिनिमम स्पेस बचा, ओनली 2 पैराग्राफ स्पेस, ओनली 1 पेज. इट फील्स वेरी insufficient, inadequate as a conclusion. So you need to mark it out so that you are able to write a balanced essay. The IBC format looks balanced. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि conclusion बस बहुत हड़बड़ी में लिख दिया या space नहीं बचा तो बस जो भी मन में आया हमने लिख दिया, right? So you need to balance it out. That's just a suggestion. If you want to follow, you can do so. So, but of course, erase of whatever marking that you have done, because you are strictly allowed not to do any marking apart from what you have written. So please erase it off, okay? But you can follow this. Like when I was an aspirant, I have done this multiple times. I wanted to make my essay look balanced. So that was just, a hint that, okay, now you should switch over to the body content. Now you should switch over to the conclusion. So that is how you tend to strike a balance. Then on your own individual level, if you have written so many FLTs, if you have written so many essays as practice, are you aware how many pages, how many words are you actually writing in your essays in those tests? So if you have not counted, please count. Please understand what is your ideal essay write-up looking like, how many words you're writing average in body content, how much you're devoting time and words to your conclusion. So all of that together, you should as an individual be aware of this. Okay, now let's move on to that. Yeah, what should be the choice of essay topic? You're free to choose any kind of topic, because frankly there are majorly 2 parameters which needs to be considered. You need to first understand the topic. समझोगे नहीं तो लिख नहीं पाओगे. So you should be very clear with the interpretation of the topic. You should be very clear with the meaning of the topic. So actually that's the first crucial parameter for the choice of topic. Okay, the second one is, of course, after understanding that, yes, I understand the topic, I understand the meaning, you should also be able to think on the spot that, okay, I have variety of ideas. Yeah, I am able to recollect 2-3 quotes. Yeah, I have multiple of arguments and ideas and thinkers and all that I could use to justify my topic. So that means the content part. So understanding the topic, the second parameter is having the adequate content to justify the topic, because if you're writing 1,000-1,200 words, you need to have sufficient content with you. Okay, so these are the most important parameters for actually choosing the topic. Yeah, in the exam you might come across these kind of 3 categories: philosophy, semi-philosophical. When I say semi-philosophical, I'm pointing out towards the GS kind of themes. 2 years back we had those kind of topics now, about the social media, about a society which has you could say less justice, it has more charity, something like that, right? So a society which needs more charity is having less justice, those kind of topics. When you had a topic like girls are weighed down with restriction, boys with demand, and both are equally harmful disciplines. So when you're faced with these kind of topics, that is called as semi-philosophy, because yeah, the inspiration is coming from GS, patriarchy, and then of course education, health, human capital, social media, AI, social justice component, or social justice or injustice, whatever you want to call it. So it is inspired from GS, but it is also expecting you to treat the essay in a philosophical way. It's not pure GS type of topic, right? So choose accordingly. Then of course you have abstract kind of topics: not all who wander are lost, muddy water is best cleared when leaving it alone, right? The time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. So choose wherever you feel comfortable. Go for the interpretation. You are able to understand the topic or not. Are you able to come up with good diversified content, examples, quotes, and all that? Then only you should be going for that choice of topic. Okay. Now, I told you about that, okay, those mistakes and all that you guys are doing with respect to the choice of topic, the kind of essays that you're writing, what needs to be done. So you have to actually keep in mind these 3-4 ideas, that what is an argument means by that you are sort of decoding the topic. So break down the topic, decode the keywords. What is conscience? Why conscience, is going to reveal the character? How convenience is going to distract the dilemma, people, or how it is going to distract and ask you to opt for a convenient path, because yeah, it's easy, it's you see the immediate benefits and all, right? So break down the topic, decode keywords and phrases. Okay, keywords and phrases, be mindful of that. I'm asking you to focus on the keywords also. I'm asking you to sometimes focus on the phrase also. Phrase is combination of those keywords. Visionary decision making, decision making in itself has a separate meaning. Visionary decision making, this adjective leads to a different meaning and interpretation of the topic, right? So focus on every kind of keywords and phrases. Generate debates. If the topic gives you the possibility, we talked about A, B, C, those kind of topic patterns. So A leading to B or B leading to C, A plus B coming together for C, neither A nor B. Philosophy of wantlessness is utopian, materialism is chimera. So and that means neither A nor B is going to work. Then what is going to work? There needs to be a path C, which is the balance. So these kind of generating debates, these kind of generating ideas, you need to go for the topic when you're choosing the topic, and you should be able to do this so that you're able to write a good essay. You need to ask questions to generate arguments. You can use what, why, how, when, where, who, what, those kind of questions. Major, minor arguments, decode the topic. So pose questions and start see that, okay, that's what the topic is trying to hint about. Okay, and think of all the relevant ideas. Don't limit yourself to GS kind of examples. If you feel that any fictional character, any fictional book that you have read, any self-help book that you have read, you are aware of Yuval Noah Harari's concepts, so bring those ideas also. Okay, some people are into fictional characters, Harry Potter, this and that, whatever. So because I feel in the movies, critically acclaimed movies, the fictional characters, they have a moral lesson attached to it. So yeah, please don't use anime and all that. Okay, don't use too much of contemporary web series and all that, because your evaluator is going to be around 45 plus years of age. They're not going to be young, they're not going to be in their 20s and 30s. So you need to write those kind of ideas which they are able to understand and identify with, right? So fiction, bring in thinkers. When I say thinkers, I'm not just talking about Western classical thinkers. I always I'm very open-minded with the aspect of thinkers. Bring religious thinkers, bring religious philosophies. You have read Buddhism, Jainism, so much, Bhakti, Sufi movements, whatever. Bring those ideas. Okay, talk about Nishkam Karma, talk about Gandhi's talisman, everything kind of ethical principle. If the topic demands, so bring that, right? Western classical philosophers, Indian thinkers, new age thinkers, new kind of thinkers, new kind of people, like the contemporary, you could say, philosophies and thoughts going around. So open, don't be restrictive, open yourself to variety of ideas, because essay is actually a paper who's testing your independent thinking. You are doing the first mistake when you're going towards the exam with a fixed template in the mind that yahi use karke aunga ya aungi. That's where the real problem starts. Open up your mind that yes, I should have a structure at hand, I should be following IBC and all that, but it doesn't mean that I need to restrict myself with some skeleton only, pre-framed ideas. Open up your mind. You need to have these kind of set of ideas also. Bring in mythology, Greek, Roman, for that matter, Indian mythology, Ramayana, Mahabharata examples, whatever feels suitable and relevant to the topic at hand. Bring those ideas. Okay, be creative in your content and expression. Okay, IBC format, follow karo, but in that, when you're writing those arguments, when you're writing examples, be creative. Okay, because that's how you're going to impress. And when I say be creative, you can have this kind of schema, you can have this kind of you could say a roadmap that okay, what kind of different examples can I generate. So brainstorming an exam after the choice of topic, of course, generate arguments, I discussed that argument wala part also. Generate those debates, generate those questions, ask questions. But to justify those arguments, to justify those questions, you need substantiation, you need proof, you need to give examples. How would you generate examples? These are the ideas. So bring in philosophy thinker. When I say philosophy thinker, many thinkers have given a lot many good quotes. Bring those quotes. The quotes can also be used as arguments. That quotes can also be used as examples. So use that. Use psychology. Use Abraham Maslow's theory. Some of the topics I have seen that psychologists have a much better application. So if you're aware of some psychology, if you're aware of some new age thinkers, bring that. Bring mythology, Indian Greek. Bring those fictional works and characters, whatever you can recall, whatever you have read and revised. Bring those classics, like you have read about so many stories in your 11th and 12th English and all that. So if you can bring in that also, that's perfectly fine. Bring those fictional, even the new kind of works, I would say, if you are able to read some new 21st century fictional novels and all, fictional characters, why not? You can, if there's a moral lesson attached to it, we can bring that also. Self-help non-fiction books, right? Books about India, books about those socioeconomic issues and all that. You can bring in movies references. When I'm saying movies reference, of course I'm talking about critically acclaimed movies. I am not talking about Welcome and those kind of shitty movies for that matter. So critically acclaimed movies, that means which have been appreciated, which is maybe based out of some real life event. You've got many movies which have come around the World War and the Holocaust and all that. People who are fan of Christopher Nolan, you have got many ideas, from Dunkirk to Odyssey to Oppenheimer to Inception to that movie Interstellar and all, right? So you've got so many references. Use them, be creative. Use poems, speeches. In my channel, on the Telegram channel, I have uploaded a document on speeches. Use that, okay? Use that as a reference. So use quotes and idioms and phrases. And quotes doesn't just mean that you have to use the full-fledged quotes. You're also you're free to use idioms and phrases. A stitch in time saves nine. Prevention is better than cure. Then every dark cloud has a silver lining. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Use these kind of creative phrases and all that. That's how you write the essay, okay? Of course, and again, you are free to use your examples from GS 1 to 4. You're free to use examples from ethics. You're free to use even your optional thinkers and examples, but be very careful with that. I'm giving you an idea. I'm giving you, I'm like sort of encouraging you to use your optional thinkers, especially the humanities options like, sociology, PSIR, anthropology, geography, psychology for that matter. You can use them, but be very careful when you're using some very unconventional names, very uncommon names and theories. You need to explain it properly, because you can't assume that your evaluator is a, optional student. So he's not, going to read PSIR. He's not a sociology student. So use the ideas, but then elaborate it well, connect it well to the topic, make the person feel comfortable while reading that new concept, new ideas, right? And you're free to use folk stories, you're free to use animal stories. If you're aware of some Panch Tantra stories, you're aware of some Jatak tales and all that, use that. Open up your mind, okay? Don't restrict yourself. Sometimes students tend to they ask me questions that, can we use this, can we use that? Yeah, you're free to use. Of course, please understand that you are using those kind of ideas, which if 100 people, if you're giving the speech, you're using those ideas in your speech and 100 people are actually listening to you. Or if you're making a reel on social media where you need to be careful with what you're speaking, if you're standing on a podium, you're giving speech in front of 1,000 people, what kind of ideas, what kind of examples you'll be mentioning, that needs to be included in your essay, right? So of course, write a professional up to the mark essay. Don't write, don't do a shoddy job, but don't restrict yourself for that matter, okay? Because essay is about creativity. And few here and there suggestions that I'm trying to give you as a last minute tips, I would say, because I've observed that, because introduction is the first thing that the evaluator is going to read for your essay, right? IBC format mein. So you need to write introduction which is convincing, which is relevant to the topic, and give details. Sometimes you guys write your introduction in such a superficial manner that I cannot relate it. I cannot understand it. When I say superficial manner, that you have narrated an event on a very superficial, generic manner. Give the detail, give the place where it happened, give the era, give the century. If you're good with years, give the year, give the name of the person, whatever is the, the names of the other person attached to that particular event, where it happened, how it happened. Those specific details actually is going to impress the evaluator. Even if you're using a common example of Chori Chora or non-cooperation movement, or events from World War II and all that, if you're giving certain details, if you're including the names of the characters involved in that event, in that anecdote, you tend to sort of, justify your introduction properly. You tend to tell the evaluator that I'm a learned person. I know why I have chosen the story and how you're connecting it to the topic. That's how you get the impression and the brownie points, right? So be relevant and include those specific details. If you have a collection, if you have a repository of introduction based anecdotal examples and all that, please cross check that is it having some good details. Specific details is going to actually fetch a good score, is going to lead to good impression. Okay. Then what I talked about that earlier also, that you need to write your essay from the evaluator perspective also. Don't just do a shoddy job because you have to do it, you have to appear for the essay, to kuch bhi likh ke aa gaye. Nee, think from the perspective of evaluator, because he's going to read your two essays, he's going to give you that kind of marks. So what are you doing so that the evaluator feels comfortable in reading your essay? If your handwriting is not proper, it's illegible, if he can't read it, he can't give you marks. That's a simple rule. So I'm not talking about beautiful handwriting, but I'm talking about legible handwriting. Please ensure legibility in your handwriting. Okay. And you can't put the onus of the understanding of your essay on the evaluator. मैंने लिख दिया है, तुम समझते रहना. That's not, वो नहीं समझेगा, वो आपको नंबर नहीं देगा. It's a simple rule for them. If they can understand, they will give you marks. If they can't understand what you're trying to say, why would they give you score? So you can't put the onus of understanding the essay written by you on the evaluator. You need to guide him. You need to give proper signposts. You need to, properly write the ideas with clarity, give the examples, properly explain it. Of course, don't go overboard, don't over elaborate, but that doesn't mean that you also do it a very superficial treatment. Write ideas in a way which ensures ease of reading. Ease of reading is very much important from the evaluator's perspective. You need to underline the important arguments. Don't underline this one common word. Underline the argument, underline the phrases, underline the example, the names, that which is important. So when you underline, you attract the attention of the evaluator on that particular, section. So there's an essay, paragraph after paragraph after paragraph happening. When you are underlining, you're sort of attracting attention. Achha, okay, what is this written? Achha, this is an example. Achha, this is the argument. That's how you attract attention. So please do the underlining. Write important names, even especially people who have issue with the handwriting. Their handwriting is not coming out to be legible. Please ensure that the important names, events, places, names, nouns, and all that, theories, whatever important thing that you're writing, unconventional thing that you're writing, please try to write it in capital. Okay, so that the attention goes there. And please be careful with the spelling mistakes. You can't afford to make spelling mistakes when you're writing these kind of unconventional names and examples. Okay, so this is what you need to keep in mind. Some extra cautionary, I would say, ideas. So when you're writing unconventional examples, you need to designate, you need to give a slight introduction. Don't just directly jump to the name. Write scientist, this particular person. And I'm not talking about, Thomas Edison or Newton or these kind of examples. Everybody is aware of it. But if you're coming across, some unconventional, very uncommon name of any scientist who has done some, invention, discovery, a Nobel Prize winner, because nobody is going to remember every year's Nobel Prize winners, right? So, right, designate, okay, scientist, social activist, social reformer, gender activist, something like that. Or when you're trying to give a reference from the works of George Orwell, 1984, from the Shakespeare's Hamlet, try to use these kind of, you could say designations and these words, so that the person reading understands that, okay, now the inspiration of the example is coming from this place. Don't get influenced by previous year questions. Sometimes it happens that you tend to have an overlapping theme in the paper. Maybe in 2023, they asked you one topic, and in 25, again, they repeated a similar thematic, topic. So don't be overly influenced by the previous year questions. Focus on that particular topic that you have chosen in the current attempt. Try to stay near to that core argument. Hover around the core argument of the particular essay topic that you have chosen. Don't be influenced by previous year questions. Don't be influenced by previous even essay topics that you have written in the coaching institute test papers. See what is the topic demanding. Yeah, if by chance, your good luck, you practice some essay topics and that as it is has come in the exam, good, then of course you can, go for the same interpretation and all that. But yeah, just keep in mind that whatever is the topic in front of you in that particular attempt, in this particular attempt, that's where the argument should be hovering around. That's where the idea of the arguments of the topic should be. Okay, so focus on the topic, don't hover around the core argument, don't get overly influenced by any kind of extra essay topics that you've written. Because why, again, the problem of partial or misinterpretation is happening. Trust me on these guys, you are penalizing, like you're getting less scores because of that only. ठीक है, so अगर less than 100 number आ रहे हैं, पक्का यही problem है. So be very careful on how you're interpreting, how you're writing the ideas. Also, sometimes finding relevant examples is difficult, so find the contrasting ones instead. Maybe it's very difficult to talk about the examples about emotional intelligence, about happiness, about maybe honesty, about integrity. So bring the contrasting, bring the example of a scam, bring the example of a corruption, bring the example of people where they could not practice emotional intelligence, they could not practice compassion, where they were depressed, in despair or something like that. So like finding examples of happiness or integrity or honesty is difficult, mention examples which show hopelessness, despair, corruption, scam, etc. Right? So these are the ideas. Sometimes it happens that okay, muddy water is best leave by clearing it, sorry, is best cleared by leaving it alone. So these kind of ideas, you won't have examples of non-interference, but you can maybe include that where excessive interference has led to losses, where excessive interference, impulsive action has led to more losses and negative impact on the humanity. So those kind of things you need to be careful. And of course, don't miss writing examples. When I say this, of course, that you have to write examples. I mean to say, please develop a range of examples. What I've come to understand is that easily 8 to 10 examples can be fit in overall in the body content, and if you're including something into the conclusion also. Introduction, I'm separating it out. Okay, so considering the body and the conclusion, I think easily 8 to 10 examples can come in. If you're writing 12, that's your call. If you're writing, but I'm just saying that I'm giving you a range. Don't write only 4 or 5 examples in the entire essay, because with examples you also give an impression that you're a learned person, you have prepared well for the essay. If you show that kind of extra efforts, that extra efforts will be rewarded by the evaluator. So don't miss on writing examples. Sometimes I've seen people doing too much of philosophical analysis, jargons or metaphor and all that, लिखते जा रहे हैं, examples की कमी है. So prove your point, prove your argument via inclusion of the examples. Develop a sweet spot, develop a range of examples that, okay, this is how I write my essay. And in this, maybe, yeah, I can fit in, if I'm writing only 5-6 examples right now, maybe I can fit in 1 or 2 more. Okay. So that's how you're supposed to proceed and keep these things in mind. I hope this, session was, it's going to prove useful for you. It's going to give you that extra edge. Of course, I've done this at a very last moment. I accept that. But yes, still hoping and wishing you all the best. Please do brainstorming. If you have not written essays beforehand or up till now, still don't worry. You still have time. Brainstorm. Pick up 2 topics, 1 topic every day, brainstorm the topic, force your mind to think, revise your content, and you'll do a good job. And in case you feel that maybe you need that kind of practice, you can, there are 2, I would say, timelines where you can write a full-fledged essay, which is, I think, maybe over the weekend, maybe today or tomorrow, you can do that. Okay, and or Monday also. And 1 essay maybe you can write on Wednesday. I'm not going to force you to write something on Thursday. It's your call. Thursday morning you want to write something, well and good. If you're feeling too anxious and all that, maybe avoid writing something on Thursday. On Wednesday, again, for practice. Don't get it evaluated. Don't don't seek some assessment and feedback and evaluation and all that, because you don't want to hear any negative feedback on that matter, on that particular essay topic, which is written, being written so near to the exam. But yeah, for your own practice, for your thought flow, for your IBC structure and all, for your own practice, you can attempt. So right, so maybe 2 essays, if you're finding time, you can attempt. Otherwise, please do the brainstorming. That is also going to help you a lot. Okay, so yeah, on that note, I wish you all the best. Do well, have faith in yourself. You have done so much of efforts. It's just that now in the last few days, you have to just push through the revision part, whatever you have studied in your previous attempts in the previous years from June onwards. And I wish you all the best. Do well. Take care.